our Sunday program. Usually Ramacharya Prabhu, who manages the Sunday program, is traveling for his work. So he couldn't join to facilitate this call and asked me to do this one. I'm fortunate that today is Braj Bihari Prabhu is here. So that's my fortune to introduce Prabhuji. And and I don't need to introduce Prabhu because most of us know very well about Prabhu. As a formality, as a ritual, I just want to say a few words. As this is getting recorded, um, a lot of people watch these videos after the fact also. There are people who watch from YouTube as well.
I see
This
that.
great Raj Bihari Prabhu is been very actively playing many roles within our ISKCON community as whole in global level. His service is not restricted in one temple. Um, if we can have Braj Bihari Prabhus right now with us, that means things are going better because it surprises. He's having free time. That means there's no conflicts happening elsewhere, right? So he's pretty famous for resolving conflicts. That's his. He's an expert in those things. And ISKCON has his ISKCON Resolve, where Prabhu deals tirelessly on a global level of many issues, deals with many things. Um, Prabhu also travels many places, not now. Otherwise, he's visited St. Louis quite a few times, helped us in also putting a strategic planning few years back. This was during Rupa Sanatan Prabhu when he was here. Prabhu came here and did a lot of help and also helped many of our community congregation members in many ways, assisting in many of his area of services. And Prabhu has a unique way of giving lectures that you will see now. Naturally, it flows. There's nothing he prepared and planned and things like that. It naturally, even a most difficult philosophical things comes as casual jokes where we can more than it. The jokes remains with us. The main thing is the philosophy should remain with us, but combined together is a special skill that Prabhu has. So again, fortunate to have Raj Bihari Prabhu with us, and we are going to enjoy this evening listening from Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Please.
Thank you, Gopal Prabhu.
Yeah.
Great. So I will, well, let me begin by Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I gave Ramacharya Prabhu a list of different things I could speak about, and he chose today's topic. So if you don't like it, it's his fault. And it's well, I'll share the screen. Oops. About making good decisions in life. And that was the topic that he chose. And the way we'll do this is, as Lal Gopal Prabhu was saying, I like to keep this a little casual. It's not a Bhagavatam lecture. So anytime you have a question or a comment, you can either go off, if you're on mute, go off of mute and say it, or type into the chat, and we'll keep an eye on the chat. Was that all right?
Yes, bro.
Okay, so this is about making decisions, and the first thing to talk about briefly, it's a little philosophical point, is about choice and free will. Because if there was no free will, then who cares about what decisions we have to make, right? And the question does come up a lot when devotees read the Bhagavad-gita and they and they start wondering, well, they read the chapters about karma and the reactions that we get according to our actions. So is everything kind of predestined? Excuse me. or where does predestination and free will or choice come in? So you may be familiar with this example. I really like the example that when we get on an airplane, and once it takes off, we don't really have a choice about the destination that it's going in. Unless something terrible happens. It's if you're in St. Louis and you're flying to Washington, D.C., it is going to go to Washington, D.C. That is determined. But within that trip, we can do so many things, right? We can sleep and just not talk to anyone, or we could well, maybe not on a flight to Washington, but a longer flight, you may be offered a meal. And I had to go over the internet to find a vegetarian meal, by the way. I did find one, luckily. We might talk to the person next to us. We may get work done on our computer. So we have our choice about what we want to do, even though there's some destiny as well. And if there wasn't choice, then why would we have like this? So there's certain things that we can't change, right? Like the Gita says that we get a certain kind of gross body, our ear, our eye, our tongue, our nose, etc. Those are, what we get based on our previous karma. We also, I don't think anyone here, filled out a form saying, I want to have these kind of parents, and I want to be born in this city and have this socioeconomic background, etc. Right? We don't have much of a choice about that. It's based on our karma, our place, our parents, our inclinations, even our height. And there's a saying that height is karma and weight is free will. Okay, if that makes sense to you. So there are certain things that we can't really change. But there are a lot of things. So Vidura told to Dhritarashtra that destiny determines the consequences of our actions, but our actions that we choose to do, that's up to us. So we have free will, and if there wasn't free will, then why would there be Bhagavad-gita telling us do this and don't do that, right? This is an argument that's given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he said, if there wasn't free will, why would Krishna bother speaking the Bhagavad-gita, and why would Prabhupada tell us to distribute it all over the world? Where Krishna is saying to Arjuna, so many places, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Right? If there was no free will, why would he say manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajisto namaskuru? Why offer obeisances? Why do this and that if it's already destined if you're going to do that or not? So the Gita provides choice along with consequences. So before we go to that, I'll read to you this one. Prabhupada writes that this is God. He doesn't touch the little liberty given to you. He gives you the right information, the right instruction. Now you think over it. And not that we're asked to blindly accept. No, rather you consider, make your deliberation, and then do whatever you like. This freedom he gives. So that's Krishna's kindness upon us. And it's also such an important principle in Krishna consciousness, right? That we have, because free will, you can't put a gun to someone's head and say, love me. The ultimate free will is whether we want to show our affection, our bhakti, and our mood of service towards Krishna and his devotees, or do we want to deposit our affection in the material world and in making us the center of things? And that's our choice. And it's a very important thing, philosophically, because we're going to be talking about making good decisions, to to realize that we do have the freedom to choose. Right? And in this next slide, that is brought out in, we did this one, that, some things happen to us in life. Now that also is often our karma, right? The different things that happen, from small things to big things that make us, at least from one point of view, happy or sad, or whatever other emotions. And though that's the stimulus, and then our free will is how we respond. Now, if we don't exercise our free will, this is a little bit of a philosophical point, then basically the three modes, we surrender to the modes of material nature, and they basically dictate our response. But what we want to do is have a Krishna conscious pause between the stimulus and the response, and create a space to choose what would be the right response. And we'll talk about some of the details of that, but thinking, what would Krishna want me to do? What would my guru want me to do? What is compassionate? What is based on kindness? What is based on I'm not this body? What is based on the whole presentation of Krishna consciousness? And this happened, the stimuli keep on coming, throughout the day, whether it's some thought in our mind or something that someone says to us, or our, favorite sports team loses or wins or whatever. In one sense, you can say Krishna consciousness is making the right responses, or making the right decisions, or making the right choices. So it's a really important topic. It's not a minor thing to be just, okay, yeah, well, we heard a little bit about decision making. In one sense, our decisions ultimately decide who we are, the different choices that we make. And of course, all the people on this call, we all made a major decision by deciding to take up Krishna consciousness. And then this verse is the ultimate freedom and free will and choice verse, right? So Vimshriya means deliberating, etat on this, asheshena, fully. So think about it fully, and then do as you wish to do. Krishna is not going to force us. So we can make good choices, we can make bad choices, and that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. But what questions or comments or thoughts do you have so far on that point about choice?
When Krishna says that yata ichchati tatha guru, do whatever you like to do, does he mean to say you're free to do anything and everything, whatever you want to do? That's what it messages, or do what I said, pick up something from that? How do we understand when Krishna says do whatever you want to do? Because then it's waste of time for Krishna has spoken so much and finally end Bhagavad-gita saying do whatever you want to do, right? So
no, not really a waste of, yeah, it's a good question, thank you. It's not really a waste of time. It's the reality. Krishna's actually just stating the reality that I'm not going to interfere with your free will, with your independent choice. So I did the best I can. Now you have to do your part. And your part is you can accept it or not accept it. And, parents at some point in their life have to do that with their children. We may bring up our children, especially when they're younger and very strict or very, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. But there comes a time when they leave the nest and you've done your best, and then now they have to to decide what they're going to do with life. And it's a very frustrated parent who doesn't acknowledge that. And we could have a whole class on parenting, but my experience is that acknowledging it a little earlier helps children or young adults or teenagers or whatever make the choice that is a more Krishna conscious choice, when they feel that they have the freedom to choose and it's not just forced upon them. So so Krishna gave very good arguments, very good presentation, right? But still, and we all experience this, right? We talk to somebody about Krishna consciousness and we really feel we're empowered that Krishna's given us the right words and everyone's listening. That's good. Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And, then they walk away and go to McDonald's or whatever, or, they do what they're going to do. And that's, but that doesn't mean we don't do our duty, or that doesn't mean Krishna is not going to do his duty, which is to try to help Arjuna and, of course, present the Bhagavad-gita for the world. Is that all right, Lal Gopal?
Yeah. So there's another question has been asked. Could you please explain the third slide, Vidura instructing to Dhritarashtra about destination?
Okay, let's go back to that. And that person is really good at counting. I didn't even realize it was the third slide. Okay. Here we go. Vidura to Dhritarashtra. Destiny determines the consequences of our actions, not our actions themselves. Another way that we usually say in this con is, karmani varikaraste mafaleshu kadachana, that we do our duty, but don't be attached to the fruits or the results, because the results maybe are based on our karma, and of course for a devotee also based on Krishna's desire. So the result of what we do, who knows? Just actually the example we just gave, we do our best to help someone come to Krishna consciousness, but whether they come to it or not, that's up to them. Or that, and of course that's about free will. So this quote may not be the best example, but we do our best at work, right? We want to, just like right now, I don't know where you all work, but right now in the federal government, this is a time that we get bonuses. We get extra money from if the boss is, the supervisor is happy with our work. So this is basically saying, okay, I would do my best to work hard and to, make sure that my boss sees that I'm working hard, and but I can't fully control whether I'm still going to get that I do my best, and the rest is up to my karma or Krishna's arrangement, or acting through my supervisor. So does that? One second.
Rajeshwari Pran Mataji.
Yeah, Rajeshwari Pran Mataji. Is that? You say thank you, but that's you said that before I answered the question. So who knows if you like the answer?
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
TK?
Yes, Prabhu. TK.
All right. All right. This is a great question. A good question. Yeah. Anything else?
Coconut water.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have one more question about the space between the reaction and response.
Yes, between the stimulus and response. Yes.
Stimulus and response. Can you please a little bit give some, maybe some practical examples, Prabhu?
Okay.
How do we know that we have a space, and how do we understand that space and then respond?
Well, okay. So Mataji, do you have children?
Yes, I have two, Prabhu, 10 and 9 years old.
Acha, 10 and 9 years old. Great ages. Okay. So are they ever naughty?
Absolutely, Prabhu.
Okay. So when let's say you had trouble sleeping the night before, and then you get up and they have whatever, they're naughty, or they didn't finish their homework, or whatever, or they didn't finish all the prasadam on their plate, or something like that. So you have some things going against you, right? It's you didn't get so much rest. Maybe you didn't get a chance yet to chant all your rounds. And on top of that, your children are being naughty. So those are three stimuli, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, but still you have some free will to to react to their naughtiness in a way that will help them, or in a way that's really controlled by some of the lower modes of material nature. Now, that may not be the perfect example because of the sleep deprivation, which may make it really harder. But still, but I bring that up because even we can we can often make excuses. Oh, the stimuli, in that sense, the stimuli was just so strong. I didn't get enough sleep, so I, really chewed out my my 9-year-old or something like that, right? And we can make excuses, but we basically, usually in ISKCON we say, and I believe it, that Krishna doesn't give us a test that we can't pass. So despite the stimulus, it's great to, like in that example, and I know, sometimes you have to make split-second decisions, but lack of sleep, maybe you didn't finish your rounds, and naughtiness, and those are three stimuli, and still we say, okay, take a deep breath. Okay, how should I react to my my child right now? What would be the appropriate way? And put that little pause, and Krishna, please help me, Hare Krishna, and then respond, instead of just letting the modes just push us around and we just don't even think about our response, and we, it's called like a knee-jerk reaction. Does that help at all?
Yes, Prabhu, I got it totally. I understood 2 points, Prabhu, if I can say that right. So the first one, I need to think if I'm acting in a lower mode of nature, try to act in a in a lower mode of nature. That's one point. Number two, will Krishna like my response if I do this to my kids at this point? Like, right. So those are the two questions if I ask to myself and then respond, and then I will make the right choice, I think.
Yes, and we don't always make the right choice, and so we shouldn't beat ourselves too badly. But we can. It's not. It's a. We are a work in progress, right? We're trying to improve more and more. Okay, shall we carry on? Let's carry on. But again, please feel free to go off of mute or type something in if you have a question or comment. So I have to. Okay, so some Arjuna just chose, right? To Krishna instructed Arjuna, and Arjuna chose to follow his instruction. My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions. So Arjuna chose, right, to act firmly and follow his instructions. Now, there are people who don't always choose. Okay, I thought it might be nice also to just read a little. This is just 1 or 2 paragraphs from the Krishna book about our dear friend, Mr. Kamsa. So you'll remember, you'll recognize where we are in the Krishna book. Seeing the glorious child, all the demigods appeared there, presented her with gifts, and offered their respectful prayers. Then the goddess said to Kamsa, "You rascal, how can you kill me? The child who will kill you has already been born somewhere within this world, so don't be so cruel to your poor sister." Kamsa then became overwhelmed with fear. Out of pity and guilt, he unshackled and freed Vasudeva and Devaki. Then he apologized very politely and effusively for his past atrocities against their newborn children. When Devaki and Vasudeva saw Kamsa so repentant, they became pacified. Vasudeva then spoke to him in a very forgiving and philosophical manner. Kamsa became exceedingly pleased, and his guilt for having killed his nephews subsided. With the permission of Devaki and Vasudeva, he returned to his chambers with a relieved mind. But the next day, Kamsa called all his counselors together and narrated to them all the incidents that had happened the night before. All the counselors of Kamsa. Oops, here he is with his counselors right there, you see. All the counselors of Kamsa were demons and eternal enemies of the demigods, so they became depressed upon hearing their masters speak of the night's events. And although they were not very experienced or learned, they began to instruct Kamsa as follows. Dear sir, let us now make arrangements to kill all children who were born within the last 10 days. In all towns, counties, villages, and pasturing grounds, let us execute this plan indiscriminately. Thus being advised by the demoniac ministers, Kamsa, who was from the very beginning the greatest rascal, decided, in other words, choice, to follow their advice. Thereafter, for many years, Kamsa sent demons to Vrindavan to kill Krishna. But Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, easily killed all of them. So he had choice. He could have told his ministers, forget about it. And he didn't. And this was the result, right? This was the result. So he made bad choices. He used his independence incorrectly. He almost did okay, but by bad association, which is one of the main ways that we make bad choices, right? Why are we when our children are, especially when they're teenagers, we were so concerned about their association, because we know association is so powerful, and the wrong association can encourage us to make the wrong choices. And the right association can encourage us to make the right choices. So I wanted this juxtaposition, this comparison between Arjuna on one hand and Kamsa on the other, I think makes the point quite well, right? About using or misusing our independence. So what can help us make the right decisions? It's having good spiritual strength. And what can help us have spiritual strength is when we're getting a higher taste. So this is a famous verse about the higher taste. Param dristva means higher taste. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment. So in other words, we may know what the right choice is, but still because we have a taste for sense objects, we may make the wrong choice, but we will cease such engagements if we have a higher taste, and then we'll be fixed in consciousness. So it's actually imperative for us to very seriously aim at getting higher taste in Krishna consciousness, especially by chanting Hare Krishna, associating with devotees, reading the Bhagavatam, worshiping deities, and either living in a holy place or making our home a holy place. Those are the 5 most potent items of bhakti, and very easily can give us that param dristva. And it's that param dristva that really ensures that we make the right choices, because I'm sure we've all had the experience of knowing what's right and still doing what's wrong, right? Arjuna asked Krishna, why is that? And Krishna doesn't mince any words. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajaguna samudbhavaha, right? In the Gita, he says that, what is it? Chapter 3, verse 36, I think, is Arjuna's question. And then 37 is this answer, if I got that right. So being Krishna conscious and having the taste for Krishna consciousness is very much connected to making good decisions. Any thoughts or questions on these points? So we talked about the difference between Arjuna and Kamsa, And then making the right decisions is very much based on having a higher taste. Questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you also mentioned that if we have a good spiritual strength, we will make good choices.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
If I said it right, but can you a little bit elaborate on that? So I understood the higher taste, but then the spiritual strength in relation with good choices.
Okay, yeah, thank you. By the way, you can be very Krishna conscious and make some dumb choices. Usually they're in the realm of, managerial choices, or, buying a really lousy car or something like that. Like what I was thinking about when I was saying that, Mataji, was choices like, should I sleep in until 7, or should I get up, at 4 o'clock in the morning and chant my rounds early? Choices like, should I, just really quickly, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu when I'm with the food that I'm about to eat, or should I actually, make a nice offering and put a tulsi leaf on it and take my time, and so I was thinking of those kind of spiritual choices or the choices when Maya is tempting us. That's what I meant. And we have the strength. The higher taste gives us the strength to not be interested in the temptation. But I should mention that on the more material level of, again, like buying the right car, or, so many things like that, that isn't necessarily that because we have a higher taste, we're going to make those right decisions. That we may have to also be a good researcher or whatever, or talk to an expert and things like that. Does that clarify things a little, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Anything else? Okay, let's continue then. So the story of Bharat Maharaj is an interesting one, because he made a good choice at first, because saving the young deer was the pawn was a nice thing to do, right? A Vaishnava would do that. I don't think that's it would have been hard for most Vaishnavas to just say, okay, let him drown in the river. But then he made some not so great choices, right? It's explained in the Bhagavatam how he developed so much affection for that deer, and so much of the illusion of being the deer's only protector, that he gave up his sadhana, right? While he was doing his puja, the deer would interrupt, and he would immediately interrupt his puja to attend to the deer, like that. And so the good choice in the beginning, not so great choice later on, and so much so that when he was dying, he was thinking of the deer, and as we all know, he became a deer in his next life. Now, of course, Bharat Maharaj is a great, great soul, and became Jada Bharata in the next life, and even as a deer remembered his past life, so he's special. But still, you see, you don't just make one good choice and choices are over. We're always making choices, and even a great soul like Bharat Maharaj, on the level of Baba, I believe, could make a good choice in the beginning and a not very good choice in the end. And here was a tricky choice, right? There was an indecision what to do with Ashvatthama, right? It was a complicated. He had done such terrible things, and Krishna and Bhima, they were pretty clear what they wanted at first, right? And you can see Bhima's eyes. He's the one with the sword. Well, I'm not sure who's got the sword to his head. Is that Arjuna then? I think that's Arjuna. Yeah, that makes sense. And Bhima's the one next to Krishna on our left. And they were like, off with his head, kill him. And then Krishna, interestingly enough, he asked the advice of Draupadi, right? So, that's interesting from a Vedic point of view. Also, he asked Draupadi's opinion, and she shows compassion for Kripi. That just as my sons died, I wouldn't want to do that to her. And also, he's the Brahmana. We know the story. So it was a tough decision to make. It was a tough decision. And Krishna said, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must act also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me. Right? And so we all know what he did. He just cut off some of his hair and left him embarrassed like that. And one could even say that on one level, it wasn't a good decision in this sense that Ashvatthama goes on to commit more abominable things and tries to kill Maharaj Parikshit in the womb and, so many things. But it was, of course, in this case, it's Krishna's arrangement. We understand that. But still, some decisions are not easy. Sometimes some decisions are really, really hard to make. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, here's a little advice from Pope Francis, the present Pope. I am always wary of decisions made hastily, which is kind of like the mode of passion, right? I'm always wary of the first decision. That is the first thing that comes to my mind if I have to make a decision. This is usually the wrong thing. I have to wait and assess, look deep into myself, taking the necessary time. Okay. So what is it? This is one of the last slides. So what is a devotee's decision-making process? Let's look at some of the factors. Naturally, the devotee would want to think, what will please Krishna? And sometimes it's easier to think, what will please my Guru Maharaj? Or what will please the Vaishnavas? So that is, the gold standard or the platinum standard, what will please Krishna? That doesn't always give us the answer, right? Because, I'm sure we've all had the experience where we would just say, Krishna, will you just please tell me what to do in this situation? I'll do whatever it is, but I'm just totally bewildered. I don't know what to do. Just tell me and I'll do it. And we don't always, Krishna, has a different watch than we have. And we think, oh my God, it's been 5 days, I can't be. And, Krishna is looking through the eyes of eternity sometimes. And then the next thing, which is similar, what would help my Krishna consciousness? Okay, that's a great question to ask ourselves. And then to pray for guidance. I put this think of Krishna at first. I was thinking of the 8th chapter, verse 7 in the Gita, where Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, mam anusmara yudhyacha, that he tells Arjuna to first think of me and then do your duty. So praying for guidance, prayer is such a powerful thing. And sometimes it's good to remember, sometimes prayer takes some time. We go in front of the deity. Or we're just, in front of a picture of Krishna or a spiritual master. And we reveal our heart and our mind. Nectar of Devotion talks about there's two kinds of prayers. One is the prayers that we offer that we create ourselves, and then also reciting the prayers of the previous great Krishna conscious acharyas. But we can pray to Krishna for guidance, and it's such an important thing. And prayer, of course, is one of the 9 processes of bhakti. And then we might also consider, okay, by which decision do I make? What kind of example am I setting? The devotees, we're meant to be acharyas, maybe with a small a, not a capital A like Prabhupada, but we're meant to teach by our example. There's that saying, what you are, speak so loudly I can't hear what you're saying. Right? So, and if we have children, my son is 29 years old now, but if we have children, they see more our example than what we tell them to do. Right? I remember one time I was looking at my computer and I had my hand in my bee bag and was, kind of schnick, getty, right? Trying to get around done or something like that. And my son just looked at me and said, Pitta, what kind of chanting is that? So he picked up on it immediately. So being an acharya, small a acharya, is an important consideration. What kind of example am I setting by this choice? And then we also do consider our duty, our varna duty, our ashrama duty, our duty, whatever the decision is about. Is this connected to just my, what is the right thing to do? Then we may come into some different decision-making processes. One is a simple one of, let's say you have just a choice between two decisions. So for each one, you think of the pros and the cons. What are the trade-offs of doing it this way, doing it that way? And sometimes you just write that on a piece of paper. Benjamin Franklin was famous for doing that in America in the earlier days of the country. So there's other things. Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. If you want a more elaborate decision-making process, but this is practical, right? Just thinking, what are the pros? What are the cons? And try to be in the mode of goodness when we're making a decision. The modes of passion and ignorance are, I was talking to my daughter-in-law the other day about this, or she was actually talking to me. They live in Oxford in England right now, and she's a doctor, but she's not sure she wants to be a doctor. And she just spent the last 14 months taking care of her mom. Her mom just passed away about 3 weeks ago. And that's a whole nother story. She was very Krishna conscious at the end. It was amazing, the transformation that her mom made. She got initiated about 8 months ago by Radhanath Swami. She already had stage 4 cancer, so he flew to England just to give her initiation. And she had very good guidance, especially from Shonaka Rishi Prabhu, the kind of the head of the ISKCON congregation in Oxford in England. And he was just very straightforward. You're going to die. The chemo's not going to work. You're going to die. Time to get serious. And she just really got serious. She's from a Gujarati family, one of 10 children. Some are devotees, some are not devotees. She just told the ones that were not devotees, I'm sorry, I can't see you anymore. I got to focus on Krishna. I don't want to see anyone unless they're a devotee. And she became so serious and so devotional. And the kirtan they were having before she passed away, this was like at 11 o'clock at night. She passed away at 9 in the morning the next day. And she had no strength. Her body was like a wet noodle. But she sat up and she led the kirtan for like 8 or 9 mantras. And then, it was people were chanting and kind of trying to stay awake, chanting in the middle of the night, chanting japa. And Ritavraja Maharaj got on the phone and chanted with her for 4 hours just before she left this world. And then she had her Shalagram Shila Gopal held it to her heart, and the devotee was chanting in her ear, and she left this world. So why did I bring that up? Because we're talking about being sattvic. Gosh, I'm trying to remember what I was trying to get, because that was way more than being sattvic. But it's a choice about which, Krishna wouldn't explain the modes of material nature in the 14th chapter, the 17th chapter, and the 18th chapter of the Gita if we didn't have the ability to choose which mode we want to be influenced by. So good decisions should be made in the, I know what I was going to say. Yes. So my daughter-in-law, she really thinks that she just wants to preach Krishna consciousness and being a doctor. But she realized that making a major decision like that about, a career that she took 6 years, it takes 6 years to become a doctor in England, studying, she shouldn't make such an important decision after being in such an emotional roller coaster, for the last 14 months with her mom. So I thought that's very intelligent. This is not the time. So similarly, making decisions when we're in the motives of passion or ignorance, bad idea. Good to at least be sattvic, if not Krishna conscious. Much better. So let's just finish these slides and then we'll take some questions or comments. There's just a few more points. Naturally, it's good to seek advice from trusted people. It's specifically people that know you well and that you trust, so they can give some good direction. And it's also really important to try to be very, very honest with ourselves. What are my motivations? Is this a very spiritual motivation? Is it material? Is it a mixture of the two? Am I doing this for name, fame, and glory? Am I doing this as service? What's my motivation? And finally, the last slide here. Oops. I'm sorry. There we go. Make a decision. The non-committal committee. Does everyone agree with the plan? It depends. Ask me later. I'll think about it. Make a decision. So ultimately, we have to make a decision. So these were some of the suggestions. So what questions or comments do you have about, and I'll leave this screen on for a few minutes so you can look at it, but about any of these bullet points? Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Antaji, you're the question asker today, huh?
It's a wonderful lecture and thought-provoking. So I have so many questions coming to my mind. If others don't have questions, can I ask,
Yep.
Prabhu?
Quite Bhagni. Yep, no problem.
So I have 3 questions, but I'll start with the examples you have, the wonderful example of Ashwatthama getting punished, and then the Bharat Maharaj one. Mm-hmm. And also you read the advice from Pope that, we have to take time to make the good choice.
Yes.
So I was thinking about in Arjuna's case, I'm still kind of in a debative kind of thing, Krishna did not give a final or a decision to Arjuna. He just said, you can kill him, that is also right, or you don't kill him, that is also right according to the scripture. But Arjuna did not have much time at that time. He had to make a quick decision, and he did it because he was devotee and intelligent, and he was able to make the good choice which pleased Krishna and which pleased everybody else. Also, it fulfilled the promise of Draupadi. Yes. But I was thinking what to speak of us. And then also I was connecting with the Bharat Maharaj one.
Well, let's just do one at a time. It does say there that Krishna gave Arjuna that intelligence, but you're making a good general point that sometimes some decisions have to be made on the spot. And in that case, we basically need to remember Krishna and then do the best we can. It's just like when the Brahmastra was coming at Arjuna, it was coming very fast, but still, before Arjuna actually asked Krishna to help him, he said 3 or 4 beautiful prayers. I think this is the 7th chapter of the first canto.
Yes.
Before that happened, which is just amazing. So we can do, say a quick prayer, and then, sometimes decisions are on the spot, and we don't have the luxury of what the Pope was talking about. Okay, the next point was about Bharat Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu. So in Bharat Maharaj case, the choice that he made in the beginning to save the deer,
Yeah.
it is a good choice too materially, but it didn't help Bharat Maharaj spiritually or Krishna conscious.
Right.
And so you made a point that when we are making a decision, the second point you mentioned that bullets, what would help my Krishna consciousness?
Right.
So again, the same point, Bharat Maharaj was not he was not an ordinary person.
Well, that's true, yes.
He still did not make the right choice, which will help his Krishna consciousness or spiritually. He made a good choice, though, even though it was material choice. But again, the same question to me, like what to speak of us again, that's the same thing that I was coming
yeah. Well, what to speak of us is a good question. But before we do that, so maybe the first one, like in my opinion, my understanding is that it was fine to save the baby, the pawn, but fawn, not pawn, fawn. But he didn't have to, become all Google-eyed over that deer, and then your main point, what to speak of us. So that's kind of like in the Shikshastakam, in the second line, second verse, right? It says that Krishna, you put all your energy into the holy name. There's no hard and fast rules. It's such a wonderful thing. But nanuragaha, because I commit offenses, I have no attachment for them, for the holy name. And then what is Lord Chaitanya's teaching us? The next verse, okay, therefore, we should be humble. We should understand I'm not such a great devotee. I don't have a taste, and I should, take the humble Trinada Pisunichena and take shelter of Krishna in that way. So when we hear about great souls like Bharat Maharaj having this, and we say to ourselves, what to speak of us, that should be a trigger for us to become Trinada Pisunichena. Okay, I really need to take shelter. Krishna, I'm like one millionth of Bharat Maharaj in terms of piety, in terms of bhakti. So you got to help me, Krishna, because you're my only hope. Otherwise, I can't do it. So these examples that seem that lead us to think what to speak of me can also lead us to that kind of humility.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Okay.
I have a final question, Prabhu.
All right.
So this lecture was how to make the right choice. So the process. But what if we have made a bad choice already, and we have a hard time rectifying it? I'm just going to give a simple example that you already gave, Prabhu. That looking at the phone while chanting, reading something while chanting, that your kids picked up on it right away. That had happened to me also, like a few years ago, maybe I would say. That my workstation has some books and cell phone was in front, and then I was desperate to look at something while chanting, so my kids picked up on it. And they do that now all the time, like reading something, looking at something, doing with the left hand something. But even though I changed, but they have a hard time changing it.
Well,
so I'm still regretful, but I was just this is just an example of we made the bad choice and we are regretful. How to rectify it? What is
we just try to rectify? I mean, the first thing is how to rectify is a big question, right? First thing is that we can't change it. So as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, nor in the future dream at all, but be in times that are with thee, and progress ye shall call. Right? So he's talking about being in the present, not lamenting about the past, not hankering about the future. Krishna also tells us, na sochati, na kankshati. Right? He says that this is material consciousness, to lament about the past and hanker about the future. Now, a devotee feels some repentance in his or her heart when they do something wrong, and that's healthy. as long as it is not my experience and my counseling of devotees is, Prabhupada writes about this, repentance comes in the mind of a good soul when they do something wrong. But it doesn't mean we have to dwell and dwell and dwell and dwell on our mistakes. But rather we say, okay, I did that, Krishna, please forgive me. Oh my gosh, I'm such a fool. Now let me, not do that again. What do they say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? So then how to rectify, that is a good question. Probably the best thing is to not worry about it and just set a good example from here on in. If it was really something that you thought it was, we could, especially when our children are a little older, perhaps we could say, I really messed up back there and was chanting my rounds while looking at the computer. That's not what I want to be, and I certainly don't want to, and actually have a good heart-to-heart conversation. But in general, we make a mistake, we regret it, and then we dive back into devotional service. This is explained a lot in a few places, but the Nectar of Instruction, that we don't have to do all this prayaschita. The only thing we have to do is re-engage in devotional service. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Okay.
And I really want to thank Ramacharya Prabhu for picking this topic. It was a very nice learning. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Rukmini.
Prabhu, I'm Kalavati Radha. My daughter's name is Rukmini. She always wants her name.
Yes, Rukmini's daughter.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one question on the decision-making slide that you showed, the last slide. So, I have one question. The main question is, Prabhu, in this decision-making process, should all of the points should be like we have to take into consideration, or even one, or how?
No, different times. Yeah. Thank you. No, we can't do all of those.
Yes,
that's different. Sorry, I should have made that clear. These are different things depending on the time, the place, the circumstance. Generally, it's good to be sattvic, right? They're just good advice, right? It's good if, it's certain decisions, it's good to consult with others, not every decision. Certainly, sometimes it's good to say, what would please Krishna? How would this help my Krishna consciousness? But sometimes it's like it's not on that level of, maybe both are Krishna conscious. So yes, we not necessarily we need. I think there's 10 of them here, or 9 of them. It depends on which one or which combination would work in the right situation. Is that all right?
Yes, but some points I found it like some decision we might have to either be sattvic, taking the advice, and even being honest, even if most of those things look very nice to consider, but I'm just stuck with one, Prabhu. The thing is what would help my Krishna consciousness? Sometimes I feel like if we try to please this condition, will it look selfish?
Try to please this what?
What would help my Krishna consciousness? There is one point there, right, Prabhu?
But you said
so
we try to please, and I couldn't hear that one word after we try to please.
What would help my Krishna consciousness?
Okay.
So that point, I'm asking, if we want to consider that, will it be selfish at certain point? I'm just thinking about that.
That's good selfishness. One time Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Rameshwar Prabhu, and Rameshwar Prabhu was in charge of the BBT at that time and was really pushing book distribution in the 1970s in America. And so Prabhupada wrote him a very, very long letter. Maybe I can, I might be able to find it. But anyway, wrote a very long letter about preaching Krishna consciousness. And then at the end of the letter, let me see if no, it will take me too long to find it. He says, but the highest realization, he says, this is great, very high, realization to spread Krishna consciousness. And at the very end, he says, the highest realization is to save yourself. So it's not selfish to want to make choices that are good for our Krishna consciousness. And those two go together, right? The top two, what would please Krishna is 99% of the time also going to be what would help my Krishna consciousness, right? So it's not selfish at all, because what would help our Krishna consciousness is to think of ourselves as Krishna's servant, and therefore making decisions that are based on me being Krishna's servant. Is that all right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. How old is Rukmini?
She'll be 7 next week, bro.
Wow. And she has her own Zoom account already.
Yeah,
Impressive.
she likes her name to be there. She listens, to lecture.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini. You being good? You listening to your mother?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Maybe. Other comments, questions?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's a very nice and directional lecture, bro. And give a lot of good points in our devotional service, and a lot of things to learn here. I just keep on listening. Some of the very good questions that come up with nice answers. It's also very informative. I just want to come up with one doubt that certainly comes recently. The choices that we make sometimes, whether those choices are sometimes looks to be biased. Like, although we decide the choices are actually the independent choices we are taking out of our own will, what choice we need to take. But when we take a choice, it seems that they're biased by a destiny. Like what's supposed to happen, that actually makes our mind to make that decision or make that choice. Maybe it could be right, it could be wrong. Wrong choice. Like, for example, just checking about the Parikshit Maharaj. When he was out for a tour, he saw a Kalki Purusha. He made a choice to throw that Kalki Purusha out from his kingdom. But he somehow not able to do that. He still need to allow and give him some direction to reside in the gold place, although he know that what could be the outcome. Similarly, we took the example of Lakshmana in Ramayana. He know that he should not leave Sita Mata while alone in that situation, and he simply rejected that particular out of his own choice. He don't want to go, but somehow he forced to go out and leave Sita Mata in the exile alone, although they know that there could be a bad outcome on that. So it sometimes looks to me that the choices we are making, it's somehow being controlled by the something supernatural which is not in our control, but then we are making a choice out of it. It could have a different outcome that we're expecting, or could be something else. So just trying to understand that piece, if it's something fitting to our class today.
Yes, because we don't know the future, right? We're not Trikalagya, so we don't know what the results will be from the choices we make. So therefore, the outcome is beyond our control. What is within our control is which choice we make, and also what is the motivation behind that choice. Right? I was just studying today the difference between Indra's motivation and Dhritarashtra's motivation in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. That Indra wanted to protect his position in the heavenly planets, and Dhritarashtra wanted to just please Krishna and go back to Godhead. So they had different motivations. So therefore, and Krishna says this in the Gita, right? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. No, wrong verse. Karma nevari karaste mafaleshu gadachana. You do your duty, and the results, the fruits of it, are up to Krishna. So you're not attached. So in making our decisions, in one sense, just like to answering Mataji's last question, if our desire is to try to please Krishna by this decision, then we've already been successful. The outcome is secondary in one sense. If our motivation and our prayer is to please Krishna by this in making this decision or that decision. And as you're pointing out, these Shastra is there. Of course, this is Leela, that Lakshman, the whole thing that happened. But still, it's there to show us that he had a decision. Should he try to? He thought that his brother was in danger, so he made a decision. And we sometimes the results aren't what we want. What to do? We don't control the future. We don't control the outcome. That was that Vidura and Dhritarashtra comment. Vidura is talking to Dhritarashtra. So what is within our control, is one thing, and what's out of our control is something else. So what in our control is our motivation and trying to make the most informed choice. What is out of our control to some extent is what's going to happen after we make that choice. Is that all right, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your association, Prabhus, and for giving me an opportunity to get your association and to talk a little bit about Krishna. So I'm very honored to be reconnected to the St. Louis Yatra again after some time.
Thank you, Rajbihari Prabhu, for being with us, and really appreciate. And we'll surely, when things get better, you are in our list to be called to St. Louis this year. But whenever things better, we'll request you to come back to St. Louis and give
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Everyone else, please stay back. Prabhu has to go to another class, so I will just make few announcement. You're free to stay here, Prabhu. Otherwise, feel free.
I have to go. Hare
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for joining today's program once again. I just want to thank you also for the Govardhan Puja. It was a very nice program we had, unfortunately with limited people at the temple, but it turned out to be really good overall. It was a good program. I just want to tell if anyone is interested to contribute anything towards the Sunday speakers like Prabhu, feel free to sponsor or give some donation that will go to the speaker. It doesn't need to be any big amount, even a $10, $20, $15, each one of us, whatever you want. That money straight go to the speakers who we invite on Sundays. And as you all know, we have Srimad Bhagavatam reading every day happening in the evening at 7 o'clock through 8 o'clock with Kartik special programs also included as Kirtan in this 7 to 8. On Saturday mornings, we have Japa program starting at Mangala Aarti at 5 o'clock onwards. 7 o'clock Srimad Bhagavatam class that happens also. And we also have other classes in Telugu, Hindi, and then also in Tamil and English as well. So if you're all interested in respective language to attend Bhagavad-gita classes, please let us know. We'll get you the link where you can join and attend those classes as well. With that said, we are pretty much done with this year. Kartik is going to end in 1 week. Next Sunday is going to be the last day of Bhishma Panchaka. And there is some plan that this coming Ekadeshi is called Kaishika Ekadeshi, very special Ekadeshi. And on the Dwadeshi day, there's a very special event happened that is explained in Varaha Purana. And we are planning to have a special program on that day. It's a Zoom program, not at the temple. So there might be a special program, but we are working towards that as well as for the Dwadesi for the special Ekadeshi. With that said, the next event is Gita Jayanti, which is coming up in December. So please look forward for what's the plan for Gita Jayanti. Thank you all very much for joining. And those who have not received your gifts, auction gifts yet, please let us know if you have not received yet. We'll make sure you get it. So many of this is dispatched. Some of them are still on its way. So if you haven't, if anything is missing, there are chances we might have missed something. Please do not hesitate and be humble and not to say. Kindly let us know. So we'll make sure you get those things as you asked for. With that said, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful week. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.